Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host, Allison Schaaf, and today I'm talking about food gifts for mom. And actually, these would be great gifts. So I love giving food and consumables for gifts, especially someone who's difficult to buy for. And if you can do homemade food gifts, I think that's even better. These ideas might be good for you to do for your own mom, maybe a friend that's a mom. They would be especially helpful for a new mom because food items are always appreciated by someone who is a new mom. I'm thinking someone with a newborn. And they could also be something that maybe you give this list or print off a recipe for your kids to do for you if you are yourself a mom. Before we dive in, a quick reminder that if you have not tried our Prep Ahead meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM, that's short for Meal Prep Monday, and try us out for 2 weeks for free. Again, that's prepdish.com/MPM, which is also linked in the show notes. There's also an option to just text the number 33777. You're going to text the word meal prep, all one word, to the number 33777, and you can just try one free week of a meal plan and see what it feels like to do your meal prep in about an hour and have meals for the week. Okay, so let's dive into these gift ideas, these food gift ideas. So for the most part on these, because they're gifts, I feel like it shouldn't be something like, hey, here's a gift, eat it immediately. So all of these, I'm looking at the list, I'm pretty sure like all of these are things that kind of last over time. And a lot of them can either be frozen or just kind of are shelf stable to where they'll last more than like one meal. Although, I certainly think just like cooking a meal is great. I know a lot of times for different holidays, like Valentine's Day, that's something, my husband always makes me dinner. And, I love that. Like I think anytime anyone cooks for me, it's like very much appreciated, especially, having a background as a chef. Sometimes people are intimidated or don't want to cook for me, but I always say I appreciate it that much more because I know, the work that goes into it. And I will always welcome anyone that wants to cook for me and bring a meal to my house. So thank you very much to all of the people who have ever done that. But let's get into the food gift ideas. So I have a list of 5 different ideas here. Most of them I will have recipes, and all of those links will be in the show notes. We try and do a really good job of always having those links for you in the show notes whenever you listen to these episodes. So just know, either go directly in your podcast app or on our website. You can always link to those. So the first idea is granola. This one I think is just a tried and true one. We have a really popular recipe for a cherry vanilla granola on the Prep Dish blog. This is one that's, loved by adults and kids alike. It's really easy to make, but feels kind of special. You can have it on your own or just like on yogurt. But it's nice because again, you can kind of dress it up and put it in a fancy jar or put a bow on it or something like that. And, it should stay good for a few weeks. You can even store it in the freezer if you want it to keep for longer. It might be a good one to double up, make one to give and one to keep. So the first one is the granola. Number 2 is a spice blend. This is something I always like to receive because I feel like spice blends really help on those nights when I need dinner in a pinch and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do just basic, I don't know, like if you're doing fish and vegetables or chicken and vegetables, how do you make it kind of like something special and not feel so boring? And to me, a good spice blend can always do it. It can always kind of elevate the dish. And it just makes things easy. It's very convenient. But I found a lot of the spice blends that you get at the grocery store, they'll add sugars or MSG or just kind of all these fillers that you really don't want to be eating on a regular basis. So, doing a homemade spice blend is a good way to go. One that I really love and is on the Prep Dish blog is a Moroccan Spice blend. I like that because that's one that you probably can't even find at most grocery stores. It was inspired actually by my honeymoon. We didn't go to Morocco. We actually went to Africa, but there's, a lot of influence since they are close by. But sorry, I was just thinking, I think Morocco is technically a part of Africa, but we went to other countries that were not Morocco. So anyway, the Moroccan Spice blend, and it's been on the blog since I think 2015. So it like literally went up around my honeymoon. So it's been there for a while, but that's one that every so often I like to make. It's really good, both kind of for breakfast. I like it on in breakfast hashes, but it's good on kind of bigger cuts of meat like roasts and I don't know, it's just pretty flexible on what you can put it on. And it's got some interesting flavors, but nothing too crazy to where I don't think it's like that out there that people aren't going to like it. So I think that's just a really fun one. And again, kind of like with the granola, you can put it in, a fancier bottle or kind of dress it up. And again, that one's going to stay good in a container for, months. So, can kind of be used over time. So that's the second idea. The third one is muffins. I mean, I think that these are one that, may be a little obvious, but I think those are always appreciated. A few different muffin recipes from the Prep Dish site. One that I'll put up there that has been a favorite recently at my house is there's like a chai spiced zucchini muffin. I like that one because it kind of gets a veggie in there, but like the kids really like it. You can add chocolate chips if you want. That's my recommendation. And then we have a few others. So I'll link some of those in the show notes if you want some ideas for some muffin recipes. I like muffins because you can eat some right away, but those also all store really well in the freezer. So depending on how many you make, you can always have some in the freezer for later. Okay. And the fourth one is nut butter. So I really like this idea. I haven't made nut butter in a while, but when you make homemade nut butter, I feel like it tastes fresher. It tastes better than what you find in the store. One of my go-tos to make at home is like an almond butter. You can add a little vanilla or like some maple syrup to kind of, change the flavor a little bit. But you could play around. You could do like pecan butter or walnut. You could do a combo of a few. You could even just do a peanut butter. But really any nut you can turn into a nut butter, right? But the basic recipe is just, in a really good blender or food processor. I actually recommend food processor if you have it. Sometimes they can get stuck in the bottom. Put them in there with some oil and just blend it until it's, as smooth as you want it to be. And I feel like that's a really nice gift. And a lot of people maybe have never had homemade nut butter because that's not something that is made at home as much, but it definitely feels a little more special, like on morning toast or, wherever you use nut butter. And then the fifth idea is a breakfast cookie. And this is another kind of classic prep dish recipe that's very popular. I like this one because it's really flexible. You can add dried fruit like cherries and almonds or cherries and pecans. You can do chocolate chips and have it be more of a cookie. I've done dried apricots and coconut. So, one idea would be to kind of do 2 or 3 different versions and kind of have a few different versions that you give. So then it's not just one thing. And maybe some of them are more breakfast and some are more dessert. The base recipe is very simple. It's just dates and a nut butter and some eggs. And then from there, you can just kind of add on whatever mix-ins that you want. So kind of a very healthy, simple recipe, but is, again, one that's been kind of tried and true over the years at Prep Dish. So that's a nice one that is also, again, freezer friendly. So maybe a theme here. But I just think it's nice to give things like that isn't like, okay, here's a bunch of something, eat right away. It's like, okay, here's something that you can kind of have over time and maybe can be used for, different purposes. So like some for breakfast, some for a treat, that sort of thing. So that would be my fifth idea there. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on gifts to either give or maybe some requests to make if you are a mom. I would love to hear from you. I'm at Prep Dish on Instagram, or if you are in our Facebook group. What sort of food gifts do you give? Do you ever give food gifts? And if so, do you have like a go-to recipe? Like I know one year at Christmas, I did homemade vanilla for everyone. But do you have different, do you make jam or something like that? Like I would love to hear some of your ideas and maybe, in the future, maybe during the holidays, we can do an updated episode with some more gift ideas for food gifts. I just think that they're really kind of a great special thing to give and are always very well received as well. So hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, I would appreciate it if you left a rating and review if you have not already. And if you have, and you're still looking for ways to help us out, if you would just want to do a quick screenshot and share this with a friend, that would be so helpful. It just really helps other people to find this podcast, helps us to continue to grow and get listeners and be able to put this out each week. So appreciate your help with that. And again, if you have not tried our time-saving meal prep meal plans, you can go to prepdish.com/MPM. With that link, you can try us out for 2 weeks free. The good thing about that is if you have 2 weeks, you can try out maybe a few different styles of meal plans because we have paleo, we have a low carb, we have super fast, which just means, only an hour of prep gets you weeks worth of meals. So that's a good place to start, but you might want to try out kind of a few different styles and see if there's something in there that is a good fit for you and your family. So if you haven't tried that out, that is linked in the show notes. That's all I have for today. I will be back again next week.